Hey guys, James with Torches and Tactical, and today we're looking at the Seeker 4 Mini from Olight. Now they sent this to me so I could take a look at it. I've had it for a few days and I had the chance of using all the different types of emitters for the past 3 or 4 nights, and guys, let me tell you straight out of the gate, this thing is pretty fantastic. Now I will get into all the ins and outs, but first I want to tell you that right now, starting at 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Savings Time, going all the way to the 8th at midnight, you can get this Seeker 4 Mini for 30% off, as well as get yourself a free login gift of an i3E EOS. Now they sent this one to me. It says here that it is Olight blue, and the color from the packaging looks pretty awesome. So if you want to save 30% on your Seeker 4 Mini or get a free i3E EOS as a login gift, go ahead and check out the Olight sale. And for all those non-sale items that you might find interesting, go ahead and use TSTA10 as a coupon code and you'll save 10% off all the non-sale items, except for the X9R. Moving along, let's go ahead and talk about some of the specs for the Seeker 4 Mini. Now this does give you up to 1200 lumens with a max runtime of 12 days. And those 2 emitters down here, these will have a maximum throw of 100 meters or 3600 candela. And as far as the UV goes, it does operate at 760 milliwatts and operates in the 365 nanometer range. That also has a runtime of 95 minutes. As far as the length, you do have 87 millimeters or 3.43 inches. The bezel diameter is 30 millimeters or 1.18 inches. And the weight, including the battery, is 112 grams or 3.95 pounds. Now, speaking of the battery, this is a 3.6 volt, 1100 milliamp hour, 18350 cell, but they do offer that proprietary magnetic charging, so you can easily stay topped off. So let's set this down and find out what the packaging looks like, then we'll get into a lot more of these specs. Looking at the box, you can see that it is pretty on par with a lot of other Olight packaging. The side will tell you if it is the cool white option at 5700 to 6700K or the neutral option at 4000 to 5000K. It will let you know there is a 5-year warranty, as well as all these specifications on the back side. Again, operating at 1200 lumens, or you can drop down to high, and that's 600 lumens. Medium has 120 lumens. Low has 15 lumens, and it has a 2 lumen moonlight mode. But while the box might look nice, let's see what's inside of it. All right, so here's the entire contents. Now this is the sleeve that the flashlight actually comes in. It has gotten a little complicated, if I'm being frank. This does work very well. It holds the flashlight very secure. However, once you need to get to everything, you do just have to fold this out. And there's a cavity down here that has the charging cord as well as lanyard. Speaking of charging cord and lanyard, you have your lanyard right here. Now I have plenty of lanyards and I have plenty of charging cords, so I haven't opened these up. But this is the new MCC 1A charger, and the magnet sticks to it very, very well. And this will go from red to green as soon as that light is fully charged. So we'll get this out of the way. The lanyard, it does have a retention clasp here. So I prefer this style actually. While the hole is a little bit on the small side, once it is in place, you can tighten it up and it's not going to go anywhere once it's on. So we'll get this out of the way. Then you also have your user manual, and that's going to walk you through all of the instructions on how to get the most out of your Seeker 4 Mini, as well as how to turn on each individual mode, since it does have the white emitters as well as UV. But we'll get this out of the way, and you have your safety warnings as well. But I know you guys are mainly interested in the actual light itself. So this is the Seeker 4 Mini. Now this does look a lot like the Seeker 3 Pro that came out, except it doesn't have that silicone grip, if you will, underneath where you actually would make contact with the palm of your hand. But since it is so much smaller, I mean, honestly, I don't know if you need it. Now, one nice thing I will tell you is the fact that they got rid of the rotating dial from the Seeker 3 Pro, which, frankly, I'm glad they got away with. But you can see those blue accents here. Everything looks really, really well done. And they have a lot of machining here on the tail cap, so you can get into that battery compartment easily if you ever have to. Additionally, on that tail cap, you will see a lanyard cutout here. Now, this doesn't interfere with the magnetic charging at all. I'll get that cord again so you can see just how easily everything does make contact. But it doesn't interfere with the charging cord at all. So you're always able to sit this flush. It does give you a flat base, so you can always table stand it. Works really, really well. Now you do have some finger cutouts on the battery tube of the Seeker 4 Mini. And I like this a little more than if they just did one single cutout. Frankly, it is a little small to be able to get your whole hand around the light. Now, I mean, you can get your whole hand around it, but the ergonomics kind of get in the way of being able to easily find a nice seated position to hold it in. Now, maybe that's just me. I am 6'2", so maybe my hands are just a little on the bigger side, but this is what I'm finding. So if we move up, you can see it does have a similarly styled Seeker 3 Pro clip. However, it does have a smaller frame and doesn't give you the same amount, doesn't give you the same width to be able to open it all the way around. And if we move towards the head, now I want to say that these are cooling fins, but it looks more aesthetic than it does functional, if I'm speaking frank. They do come down at a groove, and I do believe they would provide a little bit of use as far as a cooling fin goes. However, there is quite a bit more material, so instead of dissipating that heat, it looks to me like it's going to hold on to a little bit more. But moving up, we can see also that it does have a blue bezel, which matches a lot of their other Seeker lineup. And that blue carries over to the E-switch too, but we'll get into that here in just a second. So if we look at the reflector, you can see it is a very small but smooth reflector. You do have two individual cool white emitters and one UV. Again, that UV operates at 760 milliwatts in the 365 nanometer range. So we will get outside here in just a little bit so you can see how well that UV works, as well as the 1200 lumens coming from these individual emitters. Now, personally, I have been on the Olight's Mod Facebook group for quite some time, and I've seen quite a few fantastic things that people have done with their lights. And one thing I will tell you now is this is probably the easiest to remove bezel of any Olight flashlight I've ever come across. Now, maybe it is supposed to be glued, maybe it's not, but I did not find any glue on mine, and it came off with ease. So if you're into emitter swaps, I don't think anything would stop you from getting those really warm tints that you might like, or if you have the neutral white, trying to go a little bit cooler like this. So you can go ahead and turn the light on by pressing the button here, and it will operate both of those cool white emitters. Then you can press and hold, and it'll go through your other modes. And if you double tap, it will go to your 1200 lumen turbo mode. We can shut that off. And while it's off, if you give a quick double tap, it will turn on that UV. Now I have here a $100 bill, so you can see that with this UV, it makes it very easy to identify the hidden security lines inside currency, but we'll take it out here tonight so you can also see how well you're able to see other things like spotting insects. But what I would like to do is bring in another Olight that is rated at 1200 lumens. Now this is the Baton 3. Same black, same blue accents, except this has a TIR optic. So real quick, I will go ahead and turn on the light so you can see the beam here. Now there is a very, very soft hotspot right here in the center, and the spill does come out pretty evenly up until the very edge of it. And once it hits that edge, it just kind of dies off. But if we compare that to the Baton 3, this has a much more distinct hotspot. But once it finally breaks out of that soft hotspot, it does kind of fade into nothingness, as opposed to having a distinct cutoff. So what I want to do now is I want to compare the Seeker 4 Mini and the Baton 3, since they are both rated at 1200 lumens. And while we're outside, I will take you with me so we can see how well that UV works as well. And then we'll come in and I'll touch on a couple ins and outs, ups, downs, lefts, rights, goods, bads, all that kind of stuff, and see exactly what I liked and disliked about the Seeker 4 Mini. So let's get out there. All right, so we have the Seeker 4 Mini. We're going to start in Moonlight and work up. Here's Moonlight, but you probably won't be able to see anything on this lowest mode. Low, medium, high, and this is turbo. This is all 1200 lumens with the Seeker 4 Mini. And then we have the Baton 3. We're going to do the same thing, start low and go all the way up to the top mode. Now, one thing to keep in mind is this does have a completely different setup. This has a concave TIR optic. So here we go, we're going to go to Moonlight, low, medium, high, and this is turbo. This is all 1200 lumens with the Baton 3. Now one more time, we're going to go turbo with the Seeker 4 Mini. Much softer beam. And turbo with the Baton 3. All right, now let's go ahead and find some bugs with that UV. All right, aside from the money I showed you earlier, one of the best uses, at least in my case, now unfortunately we do spray with permethrin pretty frequently, so we don't have as many bugs as some other places, but you can see all this glowing algae on the trees around here. I'm sorry, not glowing algae, but kind of a glowing fungus. Let me find a good spot for it. There we go. You can see some of that glowing fungus here on the trees. Now we'll come over here. We have some more of that glowing fungus. And if you see any bugs on the ground, yeah, that fungus comes out pretty well. And if we did have more bugs around here, it's real easy to spot, especially wolf spiders and other, as you might call them, creepy crawlies. There we go, there's quite a bit right there. Alright guys, now that we saw the UV and the comparison between the Baton 3 and the Seeker 4 Mini, let's head back inside. Alright guys, we went outside and we saw how the Baton 3 compared to the new Olight Seeker 4 Mini. Now I want to know what you guys thought about that, and that means I'm talking about beam pattern, I'm talking about overall styling choices. If you prefer something with a little more knurling on it like this, or if you want something a little smoother like this, go ahead and tell me down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Now touching on my final pros and cons of this, I do like the fact that even for its size, it does seem like it puts out quite a bit of light. Now, granted, the Baton 3 is quite a bit smaller, but this gives you the added functionality of UV, and it also has that same Seeker design carrying forward. Now, I love the look of the Seeker. I do wish this had a little bit of the silicone on there, but who knows, maybe soon we'll have a Seeker 4 Pro Mini. And as a fan of UV, I'm glad that they were able to implement that on something that is easily able to fit in your pockets that can still use that magnetic charging. Now, as far as my cons, I have to say that, well, I really only have one. I think that for the size, and I know this is your mileage may vary, but I wish it felt a little more ergonomic. It seems like the switch might be too far back, so I have to hold this where I'm only really gripping it with one finger. And as I said, that is a your mileage may vary. I know I have pretty large hands. I mean, this whole thing kind of disappears in there. So, but if the ergonomics ergonomics were a little bit better, I think this would be a knockout of the park. But don't forget, you have the option to see this for yourself, because Olight is running their sale from June 6th at 8 o'clock all the way till June 8th at midnight. So you can save 30% on the Seeker 4 Mini, as well as a multitude of other products. And if you find something that you like that's not on sale, go ahead and use the coupon code TSTA10, and you can get an additional 10% off all non-sale items, excluding the X9R. So guys, thank you so much for being here with me. And make sure to like, share, and subscribe. When you do, click on that bell notification so you can be notified every time we put out a new video. And we'll see you in the next one.